Okay. Am I audible and visible to all?
Yes, go ahead.
So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Dear authors and invited guests, welcome to the technical session 1D. Myself, Saksham Sarraf, and this session will be moderated by me. On the behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it's my great pleasure to welcome you in the International Conference of Information and Communication Technology, ICI 2023, London, United Kingdom. The eighth edition of this conference is organized in a hybrid mode. The physical event was held in London on 20th and 21st February 2023, and the virtual event will be held through Zoom today and tomorrow, that is 22nd and 23rd February. Hope you will enjoy the knowledgeable and interactive sessions throughout the day. In this session, we have 6 presentations, and each presentation will be given 12 minutes for presentation and 3 minutes for question and answers. And I'll raise a gentle reminder in 10 minutes. We hope all the participants should stay with us till the closing remarks. And if you have any query or any update, just write it to me in the chat box. So just before we get started, I'd like to introduce you all to our session chairs. So we have Dr. Akbar Sheikh Akbari. Dr. Akbar Sheikh Akbari is a senior lecturer at School of Computing, Creative Technology and Engineering at Leeds Packet University. He has a PhD in Electronics and Electrical Engineering. He continued his career in industry working on real-time embedded video analytics system. He published more than 50 intellectual journal and conference papers. And we have Dr. Astha Parekh. She is a senior assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at IIS Jaipur since March 2010. Her research interests lie in the area of programming languages, data mining, cloud computing, sentiment analytics. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, ma'am, for the technical session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks for induction.
Yeah.
Thanks, and hello to everybody.
Hello. Now, Saksham, we look forward to the first presentation.
Yeah, now I would like to invite. So now I would like to invite Sir Andreas Kunz with his paper. You may start your presentation, sir.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen. So I think you should see my screen. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes,
we have
yes.
your screen.
Great.
Yeah, it is visible. Yeah. Good.
Thank you. So you see, it's a long title, comparing mixed reality hand gestures to artificial instruction means for small target objects. Well, what it means in the end is we want to use, for example, the HoloLens device and overlaying virtual hands to help the user to, for example, learn how to handle a machine. And we want to figure out whether this can compete with traditional hints like highlighting or pointing arrows. So let me switch on the laser pointer. So this is basically what I'm talking about in the next 12 minutes. I want to keep the time. Of course, we are not the first one working with hand gesture overlays. So after the introduction and motivation, I want to briefly look into related work and what is the state of the art, and ending with a research gap. So why are we doing that, and why did we invest time in this work? Then I want to introduce the methodology. So that's basically how we did the user study, which technology did we use. And of course, I want to show you the results that we figured out in that user study. And then I will conclude with a short summary and what are the next steps, which is actually we are already working on that. Yeah, that's as time goes by. So the motivation. So yeah, we know that typically hand gestures are superior to written instructions. I mean, to be honest, who's reading a handbook? So this is one point, no one wants to read that. And of course, in how many languages should we translate a handbook? So using symbols or using hand gestures makes us independent of any language. And it was also proven from psychology that humans have a much easier access to symbols or images than reading a text. And we are also faster in getting the information. So why not showing videos, for example, or images? Well, the videos and the images, they show the operation, but typically they are somewhere in the visible field and not where they should be, namely closely to the object. And this is why we said maybe we can come up with something called ghost hands that show the operation, for example, which button to press directly on the object. So just to give you an example, what I mean with that is you see on the right-hand corner, this is now a machine and there's a hand gesture. You see the ghost hand who is basically demonstrating how to switch on or switch off the main power supply of a machine. So these complex hand gestures are really intuitive, and I guess you see that it's much faster looking at these gestures than reading a long manual. The question is, does this also hold true for pointing gestures? So for example, if you want to see which object or which button to press, would it also work? Yeah, and here are some glimpses into related work. Of course, we have see-through devices for quite some time, and some of them are nowadays commercially available. Of course, we had some prototypes from some labs, for example, Boeing. And yeah, what they basically did is also due to limited technical capabilities, they overlay graphics like arrows, like frames, maybe sometimes a simple text to give some information. And then some years ago, we started with the HoloLens, which allowed a more sophisticated overlay of graphical instructions right on top of the real objects. So the virtual information is where it should be, close to the object. And of course, the sensors were also around. So I guess some of you or many of you know the leap motion sensors. It's basically an infrared tracking device to detect hand gestures, not just the position of the hand, but also finger positions. There were also studies on hand gestures, and they mainly used a computer screen. But this is not where we want to go to, because we want to overlay the hand gestures on the real object. There were comparisons of hand gestures to visual annotations. And yeah, this study and also the next one figured out that hand gestures, as I mentioned before, are much more accessible, and they also help to keep things better in mind. So here's an example what we want to do in the end. So what you see in the image is this is a machine control, so the panel to control a machine, and we have many buttons that you should press in the right order, and sometimes they are huge and they have a large distance to each other, and sometimes they are much closer to each other. So basically, we did 2 user studies. With the study 1, we said, okay, what is the minimum target size, meaning the diameter of such a push button, for example, that can be unequivocally detected if we use the HoloLens 2, in our case, displaying this ghost hand that you also see here. And then once this is working, once we figured out what is the minimum size that we can precisely detect, does it really help to memorize what this sequence of movements of the hand showed us? So the methodology that we used is, of course, we did not work with the real machine control on the first step, because if you do something wrong, it's quite some money that is then being more or less destroyed. So what we did is we had a computer screen, and we used this computer screen twice. And what the computer screen basically displayed is just this grid. And from the grid, we can change the size of each box. On the left-hand image, you see the overlay, the virtual hand, that is being displayed on the HoloLens 2. And the real object is basically the computer screen. And this is being compared to this situation over here, where this position on this grid is not highlighted by pointing, but simply highlighted as usual by a frame, or by, in this case, this yellowish field. What we changed in the study was how many fields are visible in this matrix. So what you see in the images on top is a 15 by 15 matrix. And this means each tiny square has 9 by 9 millimeters, which is pretty small. And of course, we also had larger fields like 5 by 5 5 by 5 elements corresponding to about 30 millimeters, and a 10 by 10 corresponding to 14 by 14 millimeters. And then we asked the user, well, the instruction was that in a random order, fields were highlighted, and the user should exactly press that button. And here you see this random order for all these 3 different matrix sizes. And yeah, you see it's really random, so the user could not keep the trajectory in mind. So, and then for the user study 2, we said, if this holds true, that finger pointing is more intuitive and much more accessible to human beings, then it should also support the memorization of sequences compared to simple highlighting. In this, for this study, we only used the 4 by 4 matrix in order to avoid any biasing of erroneous readouts, because as we will see later on in the results, for the 15 by 15 element matrix, it's not really clear on which position the virtual hand is pointing at. And the task was to keep a sequence of 8 numbers in mind correctly. So here's a quick overview on the user study. So in total, we had 11 participants. It was a bit a challenge because we did the study in the COVID time, and yeah, it wasn't that easy to get users or participants to the lab. It was a within subject study, meaning that all users did all the tasks. And of course, as usually if you do a user study, you have to fill out some questionnaires like the task load index, or the cognitive absorbance, or the system usability questionnaire. And yeah, in order to avoid biasing, some users did the HoloLens highlighting first, and some users did the real highlighting first. So this is more or less how the user study worked. And this is here just a snapshot from the study. You see all users wear the HoloLens, even in the condition where we highlighted the field. So it was simply to keep the rest exactly the same. And then now for the results. So to make it somehow comparable, we of course use the old-fashioned fits law. And I don't want to go through all the numbers, but I just want to give you some findings that you could read from the table. So first of all, in the rows, you see the grid size, so from 5 by 5 elements to 15 by 15 elements. And what is actually interesting is that the index of difficulty, so this is now this column here is for the HoloLens, it actually significantly increased. While for the highlighting, it stays more or less the same. So it means that the users, they also have to concentrate a bit more on the finger pointing. Also I mean, they have to concentrate more the more fields we have in this matrix. But what this table also shows is that for the 5x5 matrix, it seems that finger pointing by the HoloLens really compares to the highlighting. So we should expect the same results, while in addition, having the benefit, if this holds true, that users can keep in mind the sequences of numbers much better using finger pointing together with the HoloLens. Now, the results of the first study, that was the clicking accuracy. And yes, indeed, as actually assumed, for the 5x5 matrix, pointing and highlighting performed equally well, no errors. But the smaller the fields are, the worse the HoloLens performed. This has several reasons, but this gives us the idea that the button size should not be smaller than those 30 by 30 millimeters that equals to this 5x5 matrix. And this is then what we used in the user study too, where we said, okay, we used now this 30 by 30 millimeters button size and compared how well could users kept in mind a sequence. Interestingly, the HoloLens had more errors in the beginning, while later on, the longer the sequences become, the better the HoloLens, the pointing gesture performed. So the less errors we had compared to the highlighting. So this basically confirms, yes, in order to keep in mind instructions like which button to press, it's beneficial to use the HoloLens. So my last slide to keep the time. So for instructions at real objects, we can use the mixed realities of the HoloLens because in many cases you cannot do any highlighting anyways because the real world is behind the HoloLens. We have some issues regarding parallax distortion, limited field of view, and of course, how well the HoloLens is assigned to the real world. So there was a calibration process also using some fiducials that we can make sure that the virtual instruction is really being displayed where we want to have it. So regarding the button size, we saw that the 30 by 30 millimeters can perceive well, and there were no errors in detecting this. And we also saw that the memorization is really supported by these natural hand gestures compared to simple highlighting. Now, the next step is that we want to make a comparison between a virtual machine control and a real machine control. Yeah, this is basically running. I don't have results yet in order to see how well does a mixed reality application performs compared to the traditional way that some person is standing there and tell you this should be pressed and then you press this and this and this. Okay, so this brings me to the end and thank you for your attention. And yeah, I'm open for questions, of course.
Thanks, Andres. A very interesting presentation. Let's see if colleagues have any questions. Any question for Andres?
Yeah, Dr. Asta, do you have any question for the entries?
No questions.
Okay.
It was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Could I ask you one question, please?
Yep, go ahead.
About the participant that tried this experiment, you know, in what sort of age they were and what sort of background? Because it affects, you know, young people behave different from the adult or.
Interestingly not. Of course, we mainly used participants from the student staff. They had background in mechanical engineering and computer science, so they are quite different in their knowledge. But we also had group leaders. I think I was the oldest one, so typically they excluded me as an outlier. But the age span was between 25 and 42, me being excluded.
Okay, and any different behavior you spotted according to the age, or they were all the same?
No, we expected actually that the young people are more, they like to work with that more, and maybe older ages might tend to reject the new technology. And this hypothesis could not be proven by the user study.
Excellent, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Hendrik. Now, I would like to just one request to all the presenters that we have a limited time. So make sure you can complete your presentation with the 12 minutes. So we have a next upcoming sessions on the time. Now I would invite to Pavle Dekic, the paper title with the financial sustainability of automotive software compliances and industry quality standards. Pavle.
Hi, hello. Just a second. I'm also on another meeting. I will start now my screen. It's messy.
Yeah, no worries.
That's normal today. Just a second. I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's on process. Yes, it's available. Go ahead.
Okay. Just to terminate this meeting, which I'm also present. Hello, my name is Pavle Dekic, and I'm going to present, as colleague said, financial sustainability of automotive software compliance in industry of quality standards. This paper is written by me and my colleagues, Vladimir Todorovic and Valentino Vranic. This paper is going to try to cover some of basic information in this regard. So this paper is organized by having paper organization, some of the covering automotive industry quality standards, financial sustainability of compliance with standards, conclusion, and the question and answers section. So first, in this introduction area, we try to cover part for technological progress and growing human needs. That means in the standards of automotive, because we are today using a lot of complex markets and chips and everything, which are from different manufacturers. This creates a complexity. And also it's a demanding market, which is requiring consistent improvement in quality. Also, our regulations in the automotive industry and companies require that we also try to find always new answers, new problems, to new solutions, or to old problems, depends on the improvements. And also this requires changing requirements in improving this process and product lines. The part in the paper which is very interesting for us when we were writing this was organization of the paper, and the way how we approached in this research is overview of understanding of differences in use of standards and their importance. Also, the second part was that we tried to understand what is the division of the types and standards. And the third one was to review the relevant literature in the field of automotive industry standards and understanding their significance. So we tried to cover in the first part, which I mentioned, part related to the quality standards. That means what are the branches of the suppliers, how they are functioning, what are the markets, how they are interconnected, what their involvement parties, how long and complex supply chains are needed in order that we can approach the IT security from our standpoint from the IT. So we managed to see that the strongest automotive companies are mainly realized by analyzing the global circumstances. That means that they are analyzing and supervising what is currently happening in the world. And based on that analysis, they are giving directions of further improvement. And based on this, they're going to create certain possibilities of green agenda, security and data protection, which is currently by GDPR and other agencies very influential to them. Then there is a reason of summarizing essential standards on the world level, which we try to cover in this area. where we tried also to see what is the cycle of production, how the standards are influencing our ways of sale, how we are selling these products. I mean by this in the sales of automotive parts and also vehicles, because all of this is related, and also how the marketing approach is being done. But before we can do the marketing, we need to preserve our security, effectively control the compliance, and create the strengthening security information. That means that we are trying our best to protect our customers from some third-party fraudulent activities and so on. Then we try to cover something which is today in this industry very relevant, and something which some of the manufacturers like or do not like, is work in progress or quality industry standards. This is going like in a way that we have something which is not fully developed, but is enabling us to create production management which is involving non-standardized or non-scripted production techniques and methods. Sometimes this can be a trade secret for most manufacturers, but some of them are gaining a marketing advantage by using these products because they are getting fast feedbacks from the customers. One of these applications is used, as I said, VIP work in progress methodology, which is describing partially finished raw materials in the process of creating the final product. And one of the main reasons why they're using this is that they don't have the sufficient information, they lack information in the quality of level, which is respected or expected in the response from the end customers. Mainly this is implying that the first version mainly will have a lot of problems or defects which they are not able to cover, but using this VIP or the work in progress standards, they're able to cover this. When we speak about the compliance standard list, there is a reason why they are speaking about this. Is the first place of preserving the quality and high quality ethical attitude in the process. That means from design to the final product, because everything is starting from certain point of idea and design, by ensuring that the standards are used in this automotive industry. Because if we are not considering this, then our lives or our customers' lives are in danger. In order for the customers to be safe, company officials mostly perform security and safety checks, which are sometimes in compliance, sometimes they are not, but they are having, in that reason, car safety checklists. That means that they are checking as much as they can, and they try to represent the group of reminders, instructions to their employees, how to check, for example, the door sensors and everything in this area. And also, very important part is how to do software checks in order to ensure that there is no omissions or safety checks, or that there are no other activities in preserving the trust in auto companies, or that someone is breaking the trust in auto companies, which we believe and trust today. Then on this image, we can see the division of these compliances created by Information Pulse, InfoPulse Standards Compliance Manager. This is creating here first on the foremost, if I can move this on the top, I cannot to see. There is, there is a list of the standards which are relevant to security, then to the quality. I will not go in the detail because this is mostly described in detail in the paper. I will just mention the information so you can ask questions later. So this is the 4 sections which are relevant to the industry. That is security, quality, sustainability, and data protection. But mainly and foremostly, the companies are giving the most information about the data protection and the data about the quality. And I will shortly just mention this about sustainability standards. Most relevant is ISO 14001, which is controlling the view and possible impacts of industry, and also is implying the basics of certificates and what the manufacturers in production of these cars or smart automobiles needs to take care of it. Second, which is relevant, which I just mentioned here, is also 45001, That means that the companies needs to have the certain environment and businesses, among other things, by applying these certificates in the healthcare, and also that the human lives first and on the first place. Then we come to the cybersecurity standards. That means that we have certain code reviews which are performed by tools, and also that are performed by security specialists or the guys and the girls in this area which are doing the business. But not always the appropriate background in cybersecurity is not sufficient, because there is always a way how to see some of the missions that are occurring, but we don't see them until they happen. So we need to also keep track about technological progress in automotive industry, which is integrating certain safer and more efficient experiences. Mainly, this means that we need to cover part related to ACU, that's inside of the units, and CAN bus infrastructure that is inside of the in-vehicles infrastructure, and that's something which is very hard to cover when we deploy the vehicle. And because this paper is about financial sustainability and compliance, because without the compliance and other stuff which are related here, the company is losing a lot of money, and they are not willing to be involved in this area, and that means that they will try to keep the company alive and maybe not to implement some of the standards in order to achieve higher profits and production based on the quality of goods. So this means that some of the standards which we require will be partially implemented or not implemented at all. But this financial stability means that we try to promote personal consumer satisfaction and protection from unfortunate circumstances during these tasks. So we try in this area related to IT to try to build in a way a software project or the system which is covering quality improvement, and also for each company is the price of keeping this return investment. Then in the related work, we try to see how this is related to our research. So we try to cover some green agendas, if the industry in this area is going to go to the electrical side, or they're going to say, we're going to stay the same as we are doing today as a hybrid or fully electrical or gasoline or some other ways. So we try to see how the suppliers of the components are seeing this, and also what are the current managing of the changing product quality in the end of the cycle. Also, we try to cover in the later work what others were searching the improvements of devices in the markets. That means how they were trying to improve the speed, complexity.
Sorry to interrupt, Paule. Last
Yes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
We have to complete with minutes. So last 2 minutes you have.
Okay. So creation of certificate products and electronics, that means involving certain procedures. And by conclusion, we can say that by employing these standards, we are able to get to certain points, and that the framework of this design enable us to get to certain points in this area. So we can come to the question. Sorry.
Thank you so much. I have one query. What further research we can do in this?
Further research in this area is to see how to integrate CI/CD pipelines in order to connect on this area compliance. That means that we would like to see how the software is being tracked. So we would like to automate in this area of compliance. We started already to do the research for some journal. So I can say that it's a very interesting area, and it takes a lot of resources, because we are connecting some management skills, some financial skills, and each of the directors, which we had a discussion from my colleague Vladimir, told me that they are always checking the finances, not so much of the compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions?
My field of expertise is a bit away from what you are doing, but normally I see different components that you are considering in this research are linked to the final decision, means WIP that you are saying.
Yeah.
Have you considered using fuzzy reasoning for merging this information together and make a decision on it?
Thank you for the question. I like the idea. For now, I didn't have the time to consider it, but this is like a complex area because it's involving a lot of people, let's say 50 people in deciding and the process, how it's gonna go. Everyone is pulling to the certain points. So I'm gonna try definitely these fuzzy systems because I'm also doing the research in machine learning, how this can be done. So for some kind of resource or resource in a way that is a dashboard where we can see this compliance, what you're saying. But the idea is very good. I like it very much.
That's great. Thanks. Very good presentation. Well done.
Thank you. Sorry for being so messed up in a way.
No, it was great.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
No. So Saksham, look forward to the next.
Yeah, thank you
you.
for the presentation, Mr. Pavle. Now, I invite
Thank
Dr.
you.
Maria Fernanda Romo with the paper on labor conditions and their impact on the development of green economies in 2020. You may please start your presentation.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fernanda Romo, and today I will give you a brief overview of the paper called Labor Conditions and Their Impact on the Development of Green Economies in 2020. First, green economies. I guess we all know a little bit of green economies, but for further introduction, green economies are those in which the economic activities are done so that they are low carbon, resource efficient, and they prevent the loss of biodiversity and ecosystem. The development of these green economies is done by the development or the joint work of several factors, which include jobs, education, and the government in the policies they make to regulate precisely the education and the jobs. So we know that the further development of these green economies depend on these factors, but the question we wanted to solve in this paper was, how do they affect them now, the actual conditions? We focus exclusively in jobs, and the question to answer was, which impact do the actual labor conditions have on the development of green economies? To answer these questions, we developed a model of linear regression employing this data to represent or to measure how green countries are. We use the CO2 emissions per capita, which was obtained from the emissions database for global atmospheric research by the Joint Research Center in the European Commission, while we describe the labor conditions with 5 variables, which are average monthly earning of employees, level of national compliance to labor rights, percentage of population covered by at least one social protection benefit, unemployment annual rate of people aged 15 years or more, and the working poverty rate. This data was obtained from the International Labour Organization statistics by the International Labour Organization, and the considered year was 2020, as this was the latest year for which this data was available. Now, in the next slides, I will provide you like a little bit of the methodology. And the first step was a variable filter, kind of. And this variable filter implies that we did not have all the data for all the variables. So to begin with, in the variable filter, we just filter out those countries for which we do not have that precise data. Like, for example, if I want to make a test of a linear regression with these variables, I can only use Albania, Argentina, Armenia, or Australia, for example. And well, this is mentioned at the beginning because this is done before all the following processes. Then we made a statistical analysis. This was made to determine the range of values in which we had all the variables. And this is important because in linear regression, as we know, the larger the values of a variable, the more influence that variable has on the model. So even if the variable is not statistically significant. And in this case, it was important because the average monthly earning of employees was several times higher than all the other values, and maybe a little bit the percentage of population covered by at least one social protection benefit. So keep that in mind. And the next step was to make plots. In this plot, in the y-axis, we had the dependent variable, the CO2 emissions per capita, while in the x-axis, we had all the independent variables. This is important because precisely in a linear regression, we need a linear relationship between the variables so that we can have significant results. So this was made as a linearity check. And considering that the relationship between the variables is not exactly linear, and considering the values are not exactly overlapping, we made a logarithmic transformation. And even though for some variables, it didn't actually work that much, it improved all the results. And yes, in this axis, we can see now the values are overlapping. And in some variables, the relationship is significantly linear. And the last part, after doing all this process, was obtaining the linear regression models. This was done by applying scripts in Python. We used the stats model library. And as a first approach, we did each independent variable against the CO2 emissions per capita. This actually didn't show that much, but it was the first approach. And then we made all the independent variables against the CO2 emissions per capita. And we started to filter out all the variables that didn't improve the model or were significantly, statistically significant. This was done by evaluating the F statistic and the p-value, F statistic for all the variables and p-value for each variable. And then we evaluated the whole models using the R-squared and adjusted as R-squared value. And these gave these results. From the 5 variables, we ended up with just 2. The percentage of population covered by at least one social protection benefit and the working poverty rate. In this table, we have the condensed results, but for better visualization, we put them in this equation and the graph. And as can be seen, the variables have an opposite relationship to the dependent variable. As can be seen here, the percentage of population covered by at least one social protection benefit is positively related, while the working poverty rate is negatively related. So this takes us to the following conclusions. First, that as the percentage of population covered by at least one social protection benefit increase, so does the CO2 emissions per capita. And as the working poverty rate increases, the emissions decrease. So this takes us to the global conclusion that the actual labor conditions do not contribute to the development of green economies. And this was important because, well, at the beginning of the research, it was considered that maybe if people were better protected by labor conditions, they had maybe more time or the resources to focus on being green, but that's not the case. So in the future work, it will be important to consider a change in policies, like because the policies regulate everything. And in related works, we found that giving a green perspective since the education, like not waiting until the person is at the job, but from college and all the levels, it could improve how green jobs can be. So that could be important. And as part of this project, maybe it could be important to measure how much education, jobs, and policies affect green economies, like together, so that we can make policy making and the allocation of the resources can be more efficient. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. What was the standard error? Can you come to the slide? Have you calculated the standard error?
Could you repeat your question? Sorry.
Have you calculated the standard error?
Standard data?
Standard
Come to the
deviation.
experiment slide.
I don't understand you.
Do you have any standard or something?
Standard for what? For
Standard deviation?
choosing
I
the
think
variables?
she's talking about the statistics of your data.
Yeah,
If
statistical
Standard
data. Yeah.
deviation of the data. Do you have any information
Okay,
about that one?
yes. I had it before making the logarithmic transformation. And well, this is the dependent variable, and this is all the independent variables. And well, this was mainly done just to see the range of values, but I didn't have that. Well, as later we did a logarithmic transformation, like we actually lost a little bit of the statistical significance. So I didn't analyze that after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Hello, Fernanda. Thank you very much for your presentation. Question is, did you consider applying a nonlinear regression instead of applying a logarithmic transformation at some point?
No, because, well, I can explain. It was like a first approach. Like I wanted to see if this could work, and this did actually give like a little bit of significant results, but it will be interesting to apply other kind of models to see if they can work.
Okay, were you surprised with the results you obtained with your model, the conclusions? Were you surprised with these results?
Yes, because well, I thought that maybe if people had more money, because being greener is actually more expensive sometimes. So if people had more resources or were better protected, like they could have more possibilities, but that was not the case.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Very good.
Thank you.
Any further questions from audience? Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation. Thank you.
Yes, Saksham, next one.
Thank you for your presentation. Now I invite Dr. Nahid Azab to present a paper on measuring trust in government amid COVID-19 pandemic and Russian-Ukraine war. You may start your presentation.
Yes, I'm just sharing the screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure why my video is not appearing. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody. Our paper is entitled Measuring Trust in Government. Maybe especially during COVID-19 era and the Russian-Ukraine war. In fact, my colleague and my colleague Mohammed Al-Sharif and myself, we were interested in seeing the level of trust in government. Because it's very important, because a decrease in trust can compromise on the compliance of the citizens towards the policies and regulations of the government, and it can even compromise on the whole system and the legitimacy of the whole system. So we conducted a study back in 2008 on a sample of Facebook pages of some governments in Egypt. And then last year in 2022, we thought of monitoring or evaluating trust in government over time. So we wanted to know if the level of trust or the extent of trust had changed during these years, especially after two critical situations like the pandemic and the war. Why? Because the trust is even more demanded under these crucial situations, because due to the pandemic and the war, there was a disruption in the supply chain and low investment and inflation, and there's a lot of chaos there. So we wanted to know that how governments are dealing with all these variables, and the trust concept or notion is very important at these critical situations, especially with the propagation of misinformation especially over social media platforms. So we thought that in the literature review, we had first a lot of the literature in this field. And especially we wanted to know if ICT, information and communication technology, have an effect on increasing the trust in the government. So e-services are definitely very important because they provide some kinds of cues for trustworthiness of the government. if the citizens can use the e-services in an efficient and effective way. However, websites are not enough because in websites there is no kind of interactions and between citizens and the government. So citizens demand more understanding of the public policy process and to be not only to understand it, but to be more involved and have a say in the decision-making process, and to know what the governments are doing and are responding to any economic situation. So social media present a golden tool in this regard because it provides the platform with all its features to reinforce this trust in government. And the research gap that we found that there is a scarcity in evaluating government, the trust in government, especially over social media platform. So we try to fill this research gap by providing a systematic framework where we can evaluate the trust. In our earlier study back in 2018, we looked at several Facebook accounts of Egyptian ministries. And from the literature, we derived or extracted 6 main dimensions to measure trust: responsiveness and accessibility, transparency, effectiveness, efficiency, and participation. And then we looked at a sample of 4 Facebook accounts of 4 ministries, the Ministry of that are related directly to the economy, the Ministry of International Cooperation and of Trade and Industry, and the Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism of Egypt. But we dropped the Ministry of Tourism because their Facebook page wasn't active since Jan 2017. So we have 3 ministries to apply our framework on them. We use a tool that is called Crowd Analyzer. It was active by this time, and it uses NLP and AI in order algorithms in order to get sentiment analysis and to monitor different aspects of the 6 dimensions that I highlighted earlier. We looked at these Facebook pages in 2018. In this current study, we still have the main 6 dimensions, and we looked at the Facebook pages, but we didn't have the crowd analyzer, the tool that we used before, because it is not active anymore, and because of the limitations that of privacy that Facebook put on its pages and accounts. So we were not able to use this tool, but we used another tool on this. And we added the Ministry of Tourism because it started to be more active in 2022. So we used instead of crowd analyzer, we used Social Makers tool. And it provided us with many findings and other findings as well, like the number of times users have shared any post or the number of new page followers and so on. And our monitoring period was from January 2022 to May 2022. As I said, we used, we used the same 6 dimensions, but we changed some of the sub items under them. So we ended up, all the details are provided in the paper, but because of the limited time that we have, I will not get into details about the sub-items under each dimension, but we have under responsiveness 10 items, and under accessibility 2 items, transparency, effectiveness, efficiency 4 items, and participation 9 items. So these are the results and the comparison between our old study and our new one. As you can see here, in our old study, the Trade and Industry Ministry was the lowest in the overall score. We have here the overall score of each dimension and the total overall score of all the dimensions. So the Trade and Industry Ministry of Trade and Industry, they had the lowest one in the old study, but in the new study, the Ministry of International Cooperation had the lowest one, and the highest one was from the Ministry of Tourism. We can check if we have more time about the responsiveness, and we can see that the higher responsiveness is from the Ministry of Tourism, and accessibility is okay except for the Tourism Authority. Transparency is okay except for the Tourism Authority as well. Effectiveness is higher in the Tourism Authority and in the Ministry of Tourism. Efficiency is higher, as a matter of fact, in the Trade and Industry Ministry and the International Cooperation, Ministry of International Cooperation, because they provide some kind of automated messages, automated reply. So they are very efficient in this. And the participation is the highest in the Tourism Authority and in the Ministry of Tourism. So these are the main findings. An in-depth discussion is provided in the paper. As a conclusion, as we know that trust is very important in government because decline in trust can negatively affect how citizens perceive the government and how they comply to the measures, especially in the pandemic and during the war. For example, to be vaccinated and to wear masks and to reduce panic buying. So it is very important to reinforce this trust. So public administrators shouldn't play behind the scenes anymore. They should be transparent towards their citizens and to address misinformation that is especially over social media, and to address the users of social media because of this, and to use technology to encourage interaction and improve transparency and responsiveness. I like very much this quote by Bobby Zenzoris instead, because if we don't apply efficient strategies towards communicating with the public, we are going to remain in the same bureaucracy of the public sector. So just to transform the medium, the same bureaucracy, but from a straight physical one to on a screen one, using the laptops or mobiles. So we have to take care of to provide an efficient communication channel with the citizens. The limitation of our research because of social bakers doesn't provide us with in-depth sentiment analysis, especially in the Arabic language. So we are currently looking for another tool. And in our future work, we are looking to get the feedback of the citizens and public policy makers in the government in order to see whether there is a large gap between the perception of citizens and what the policymakers are doing. And maybe we can change the weights of the dimensions and the sub-items based on the feedback from experts and depending on the level of public institutions. Thank you. And I'm welcoming any questions, my colleague and I.
Thanks, Nait, for your excellent presentation. Let's see if
Thank
there
you.
are any questions from audience.
I
Any
have
question?
a question.
Go ahead, please.
So the title, mentioned something about the Russia-Ukraine war. So is this war
Yes.
related to that?
Yes, I mentioned this in the paper because it had very negative implications worldwide and in our country as well, due to the low investments and to disruption in supply chain. So at this time, it is very important that government should be aware of the importance of providing citizens with the right information and to be effective and to make them see how they deal with these situations, with these economic situations.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome.
Any other questions? I have a question here myself, is about, are there any correlation between COVID time and also the war that affects those 4 parameters that you are assessing, like effectiveness, transparency, other things? Are they the
Yes,
same way affect the outcome or no? It's different.
This is a very interesting question. We didn't see the difference in the content of and the posts and the reactions. Which one had a more input? If I understand your question, but both of them, because they happened mainly at the same time, because we are suffering here, and I think all the countries worldwide are suffering the same. Starting COVID was 2020. But started 2020, but we are still under the negative influence of their input. So we have the implications of both things. But it is very interesting, though, to know which one had more influence, especially on social media. So maybe we'll try to find this. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay, thank you. No more question from me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
No,
Nahid.
thank you. Very good presentation.
Okay, most welcome.
Well done.
My pleasure.
Thank you for presentation. Now, I would like to invite Christian Picon.
I think so. The next presenter, Christian Picon, is not available. Is there any other alternative presenter or co-author is there? I don't think so, Saksham. So we'll look forward to our next and last presentation of this session.
Yeah. So now I invite Zenian Lin. Present his paper.
Yeah, Jinian.
Yeah, you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So, hello everyone. I'm here today to present our study titled The Demand for Big Data Skills in China. Let's begin with a brief introduction of this study. The exponential growth of data has driven the development of big data, with its definition changed from 3V to 5V, adding the velocity and the value into volume, variety, and velocity. And it has reshaped the working content in various industries, as well as the skill requirement in these industries. However, since labor with skills are still short in supply and organizations are willing to offer higher wages for those laborers with those advanced skills, whereas there is minimal empirical evidence regarding the demand for big data skills and how much value are organizations willing to pay for the skills. Therefore, by analyzing the online job ads from one of the biggest online job sites in China, we first developed a skill list for big data and clarified the definition for big data skills. Then we explore the demand for these skills as well as how much value organizations are willing to offer for these skills. First, we clarify the definition of big data skills. Based on previous literature, in addition to the technology and the knowledge that are essential for extracting value from data, other general skills such as communication and social skills are also important for big data professionals to work efficiently and communicate their working content. Therefore, we divide the skill list for big data into technical skills, which are practices and attitudes essential for extracting value from data, and general skills, which are personal traits and abilities that are broadly required across the labor market. We derive the technical skills based on evolution of big data, which has experienced 4 main stages to provide a comprehensive definition of the technical skills. We assign each skill field into the main stage that it has the most significant growth. From the digital adventure and the World Wide Web to Web 1.0 and the development of hardware or graphical hardware, and to Web 2.0 and Internet of Things. The evolution of big data has resulted in the development of the 10 core skill fields of technical skills for big data. The general skills are personal traits and abilities that enhance interpersonal interactions and working performance. On the one hand, because the skill requirements are becoming higher today, the focus of work is shifting towards the combination of technical skills and the general skills. And the general skills are becoming more and more important for the efficient use of technical skills. On the other hand, because technical skills typically fade in very quickly, so many employers often require the employees to have general skills so that they can continuously contribute to the organization even after the fading of technical skills. Therefore, both general skills and the technical skills are important part of big data skills. So, based on the definition of big data skills that we derived from previous literature, we assign the keywords of the skill that are typically detailed in the job postings that we collected in our data into the skill field to develop our skill list. Our initial data source are job vacancies on 51job.com. We collected more than 4 million data that covers 10 months monthly data. The data incorporate detailed information such as the job title, the posted wage, the requirement for education and experience, as well as the job information. We apply word segmentation to the job information to detect the required skills. And based on the skills that we detected in the job postings, we assign the most frequently appeared required skills keywords into our defined core field of big data skills and develop our skill list. We use the skill list with the keywords and the definition of big data skills key field into our data and explore the demand for big data skills. We use Python to detect whether a job ads require at least one keyword of big data skills. And we also explore the relationship between the posted wage and the demand for big data skills by using the following regression model, where the log wage is the log of the average monthly wage for an occupation O in a city C, and we regress it on the average requirement of big data skills in occupation city cells. We also added the experience variables, which show the average years of experience requirements and the average level of education requirements in the average occupation city cells variable. And then we also control the occupation, city, and industry in succession. Table 2 shows the summary statistics of our data, where we can see that 11% of job ads require technical skills, 32% of job ads require cognitive skills in the general skills, 16% of job ads require social skills in the general skills. We also calculated the percentage of job ads that require technical skills in each industry, and we rank the industry in descending order. And we show the top 10 industry with the highest demand to show the demand of data skills that are distributed in the industries. Consistent with what is expected, we find that the software and IT service industry has the highest demand for technical skills, which reaches 23%, while in the scientific research and technology service industry, the demand for skills reaches 13%, followed by the wholesale and the retail industry, synthesis industry, and the public administration, social security, and the social organizations. We also calculated average wage of the job postings, and the average wage of posting require technical skills, and the average posted wage that do not require technical skills. The results shows that in industries where the demand for technical skills are high, the average posted wage are also high. We also find that in job postings where the average wage that require technical skills are higher than the job postings that do not require technical skills. The table 4 shows the regression results on our model 1, where the column 1 incorporates a model that incorporates the estimate of technical skills and the general skills, as well as the education and experience variables. All the coefficients of all variables are significant at 1% level. And then we also see that when the demand for technical skills increased by 10%, the posted wage increased by 4.9%. And the posted wage increased by 3.4% when the demand for the education level increased by one more level. And the posted wage increased by 15% when the demand for the experience increased by one more year. Then we add a set of controls into column 2, 3, and 4. These controls include the fixed effect of the occupation, the fixed effect of city at a particular level and above, and the percentage of job ads in different industry classifications. While adding these controls, the result is still good. We added these controls because they reflect some factors that might impact the relationship between the posted wages as well as the required skills. First, in cities with better economic growth, the wage tends to be higher, even though the skill requirement may be similar. Second, in occupations and industries that highly related to big data, some skills are taken for granted and thus not mentioned in the job ads. While adding these controls, when we see that the coefficient of technical skills is significant at 1% level, although it drops slightly to 0.22. These results manifest that big data skills has a strong explanatory power to the posted wages, and job ads that require big data skills tend to provide higher posted wages. And the result that contain a set of controls shows that the positive impact of big data skills or posted wage is not confined to those high-tech occupations, such as mathematical jobs, well-developed region, and prosperous industries. To further explore whether the difference in posted wage is due to the requirement in skills, we regress the demand for the skills on the average posted wage in each occupation city cell across industry with the top 6 technical skills share. The results shows that in the software and IT service industry, when the demand for technical skills increased by 10%, the average posted wage increased by 0.5%. And in the scientific research and the technology service industry is willing to offer the highest value for big data technical skills. Whereas in the synthesis industry, the coefficient of technical skills is not significant, but the coefficient of cognitive skill in the general skill is significant at 1% level. In conclusion, in this study, we investigated the online job ads from one of the largest online job websites in China, and we developed our skill list, clarified the definition of big data skills, and show the most popular skills in the Chinese labor market. And then we explore the demand for big data skills as well as the value organization offer for these skills. We find that 11% job ads require big data technical skills, and the job ads that require technical skills tend to provide higher wages. The scientific research and technology service industry offer the highest value for big data skills, followed by the information technology service industry. In all industries, the average posted wage of job ads that require technical skills are higher than those do not require technical skills. Finally, in industries where the demand for technical skills are high, the wage in job ads that do not require technical skills are also high. Thank you very much for your attention, and these are our references. So do you have any question?
Very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Any question from audience?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
What about the skills that you have described? Are they applicable to other IT fields and not just big data?
Do you mean that do we include some general skills in the IT field rather than only skills that are used in big data?
Yes, so these skills that you described that are applicable to big data professionals, are they also applicable to other fields of information technology, or are they exclusive of big data, or what skills are exclusive of big data?
Oh, they are exclusive for big data, and we exclude some general skills in the IT field, such as the skills that are used for establishing the information system infrastructure in enterprises.
Yeah, question is if, for instance, a data scientist or software engineer, developer also require the skills that you have just described.
Sorry, pardon.
Okay, hello. I think that I can answer your question. So, to be honest, we are not quite familiar with those kind of different skills. For example, the big like software engineer and the big data processing skill is different. Which skills are needed? We are not quite familiar for that kind of software. So in the future, we're looking for some cooperation to help us to figure out which software or which kind of skill should belong to which part of in the IT field. So we guys really need that help. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Great. Any further questions? Thank you very much. Thanks. Very nice presentation. And actually, you address one of the challenging area of the research. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, so I don't think so. Okay, the next, the missing presenter is available, the Christian Picon. No, so Saksham, look forward to closing remarks of this.
So I sincerely thank
would you like
all
to go
the
ahead with?
Yes, sorry.
I asked just Professor Asta if she likes to give the final say and before we move to closing the session.
Okay.
Hello.
Do you have any comment or would you like to have a say, please? Okay, thank you very much. We
Yeah.
had a very good presentation and quite a rich question on the topic. I would like to thank all of you and also the organizer of this conference for arranging this session. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Sure, sir. Yes,
Thank you
Saksham.
so much for inviting us. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Sincerely thanks.
Yes, Saksham, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
والله العظيم يا رامي لو ما بطلت قله الادب بتاعتك دي لا اقلبها نروح على كل.
Yeah, Saksham, go ahead.
I sincerely thanks all of our authors for their excellence present and contribution in this session, of all participants for taking part in this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. We, on the behalf of whole team, thank you for your support in this 8th version and previous 7th version of the conference, and we'll be happy to see you in the 9th version of the conference in 2024. All the presenters would be getting their participation certificate in 2 or 3 working days. Further, all the papers are forwarded to the Springer, and the publications will be live in 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT 2023. And I also thank our session chair, Professor Akbar Sheikh Akbari and Professor Astha Parekh for chairing the session. A token of appreciation to the chair on the behalf of ICICT 2023 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation and partners. Thank you for your valuable presence.
Thanks, everybody.
Dear all, I kindly request to turn on your camera for a quick snapshot of virtual conference.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you, Professor Akbar and Professor Astha, for chairing the session. Look forward to the next technical session on time.
Sure.
Thanks, everybody. Very nice
Thank
meeting
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.